Hi, I'm Matt, here in Michigan.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. Today, Matt and I are going to be taking care of a very long standing viewer request Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels from 1998. It stars Jason Fleming, Dexter Fletcher, Nick Moran, Jason Statham in his feature film debut, Vinnie Jones in his feature film debut, P.H. Moriarty, and, of course, Sting. It is written and directed by Guy Ritchie in his feature-length film debut. Lots of debuts going on here. He is also very well known for Sherlock Holmes series starring Robert Downey Jr., The Man from U.N.C.L.E., The Gentleman, which we have a review of, and of course our most viewed film at this time, Snatch. But before we get too much into this flashback review, remember, if you like this sort of thing, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you always want to see more. Ring the bell icon if you want to be notified when we're posting new videos.
In Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, a group of friends and small town criminals owe a large debt that they need to pay off in less than a week. They come up with a plan to steal from other criminals to pay the debt. Oh, and there's two expensive guns thrown into the mix here. It had a $1.4 million budget and has earned more than $28 million. It has received above average reviews from critics and is very liked by audiences. And it also has a short-lived television series called Lock, Stock. Randall, this is the first time I've watched Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, but I'll give you the first go around. What do you think about this movie?
Oh, no, Matt. Before we can go too far, we're going to have to do some cars and movies.
Cars and movies!
The first thing to note is that I don't want to leave our British fans hanging thinking that I only care about American cars. So let's kick this off. In America, we have the Econoline van, but that has been superseded by the Ford Transit. In this, our group of four drives a Mark II Ford Transit. It's the only van of choice over in the UK. The next car of note is the 1979 Ford Escort RS 2000. What makes this car so special? Second gen Escort. We didn't get it in the United States. Rear wheel drive. A rear wheel drive Escort. That thing went rally racing. Not the RS 2000. The RS 1800 went rally racing. But, you could buy the road going version. It's cool. And of course, I cannot forget the AC Cobra. Probably a replica. Shows up just at the very end. But that car is too sweet to not put on this list. Now, back to the review. Matt, I also have only just watched Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. This is my first go through, and I really, really enjoy it. It's a pretty awesome movie. And honestly, when I'm sitting there thinking about it and just like this in comparison to Snatch, I know this is Guy Ritchie's debut, so I just thought, you know what this is? It's like a prototype of Snatch. They're not the same story, but they have all that same feel, and Snatch kind of made things just a little bit better, just a little bit cleaner, but still, they did not matter. This was an extremely enjoyable movie.
Oh, Randall, I'm with you there 100%. I, too, enjoyed this film. It's got the Guy Ritchie flavor. Everything's kind of connected. All these different groups are connected to. And yes, I agree. I thought the same thing. Like, this is, showing that it can be done. This is like Guy Ritchie's film showing what, he can improve on everything better in Snatch. And I think one thing for me, I think the biggest improvement I like in Snatch as opposed to Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, I enjoyed much more of, all of the secondary characters in this film than really the core four for me. And I think Snatch just does that even better, makes the characters even more memorable. And I think like our core group is a little bit better in Snatch.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. But it's amazing to think that this was his directorial debut, and it so sets up his style. This movie, everything connects and everything's important. It is totally a blink and you miss it kind of film. Don't get up and go to the restroom. Make sure you pause, basically, because you'll be completely confused if you take, a 1 minute break and come back in like, wait, what just happened? Because the entire plot, like subplot with the two guns was explained. Quite convenient that those guns are worth £500,000. But everything's connected in this film, and watching the way that Guy Ritchie like weaves it in and out and makes everything just make sense, and then leaving you with that literal cliffhanger, I guess, bridge hanger. So well done. I find that I find it hard to believe that this is someone who just wrote and directed their first film.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that bridge scene too, because there was a few scenes in this that actually had me like, I want to say like yelling at the TV or what you call it, where I was actually up like, no, no, don't do it, don't do it, don't toss it, don't toss it, kind of thing. And then, kind of like added the, a little bit of tension with like the characters, like messing with the phone and everything, like, oh no, got to get the call to get them to stop and stuff.
If those guys would just stop for a second, calm down, and just have someone make the call, they would have gotten to him in time. But who knows what happened? Who knows?
One thing I think Snatch does a little bit better than, I guess, like Lockside 2, Smoke Barrels, for me, I think some of the connectiveness in certain elements, it was just like kind of like too convenient. I mean, I guess everything's done with like small town crooks for the most part. Everyone's got their hands in, everyone else's like business and stuff. But it was just kind of interesting how it's like, man, these guys really don't have any like, awareness that, they might be dealing weed back to the people who own the weed.
How is it your f***ing stupid, soon-to-be dead friends thought that they might be able to steal my cannabis and then sell it back to me?
But they're not really bad. Like, they're not bad guys. They're not, like you said, very small-time crooks, They're aware of what's going on, kind of, but they have no idea that they might be selling it back to the drug kingpin. And then, of course, that there's going to be, Boondock Saints style shootout. But the budget doesn't allow you to show it, so it's basically a lot of exterior shots of what the heck's going on in there. And every time like a character dies, no, we can't afford like the actual like patches and everything to show like people get shot. Nope, can't do that. So it's just a cut away from the shot.
Like you said, I think before, this is definitely like a proof of concept, I think, movie or whatever, where it's kind of like, I have these ideas and I want to put these ideas onto film and stuff. And it does well, on its own kind of thing. I think this is a good, enjoyable, movie to watch. And, Snatch is probably just, a little bit more watchable, just a little bit more polished. I mean, I hate, comparing this too much to Snatch. It's Guy Ritchie film. This movie is a good movie in its own right.
Well, this really sets up his filming style, which at the time in the late 90s, early 2000s was quite unconventional, with the grainy kind of sepia filter that the whole film was done on. It's very much like you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, that's a Guy Ritchie film, and all these interconnected things. That is still what you see in The Gentleman, which is our least watched movie review. So go watch that, please. He has set this up as this is how I do things. This is when I do a movie, not, a big budget Aladdin movie, but an actual like movie that I sit down and I write and I direct and I have all this say over and control over. This is his style, and it was extremely different from any other movie and movie types that were being made at the time.
Yeah, Guy Ritchie kind of has that, it's his flavor. It's definitely, his signature, I guess you would say. When you see this movie, it's like, yeah, this is a Guy Ritchie film. But I could be wrong, but I think it's because of like Snatch and stuff that a lot of people are going back and like watch this movie. I mean, if you haven't seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, I definitely recommend that you watch this if you're a fan of Snatch. And Randall, I did watch our review of The Gentleman, but I still haven't watched The Gentleman yet.
You should watch The Gentleman. It's awesome. It's such a good movie. I don't know why people apparently don't care about the review, other than maybe it's just me. But, if you think about other gangster films that were being made, you have the classics like Godfather, and then Godfather 3 came out in the 90s, but then you also had like Tarantino, who's got his own very obvious style. Like, oh yeah, that's a Tarantino film. Guy Ritchie just came through and he just like, no, I'm going to do it different. I'm going to do a different kind of gangster movie. You know, it's not going to be like American Gangster even, which is a Ridley Scott film. Definitely his own take. And maybe it's that, you know, that UK feel. This is the way the underground, I don't know how the underground works. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. Like in reality, I don't know. That's not my thing, but maybe this is the way the underground works in the UK. Like there's all this interconnectivity because the UK is a lot smaller than like the broadness of the continental US. I don't know that. I'm just saying, you know, maybe there's a reason that Guy Ritchie's gangster films have such a different flavor than all the gangster films that came before them.
I think a lot of it is that small town crook feel to it. Like we do have some power players, you know, or one big power player, I guess you would say in this, or a couple. But yeah, it's that where you're dealing with, you know, people that aren't very experienced in the game. And this one, I think it's definitely the two guys tasked with stealing the antique guns and stuff too. They are completely out of their element and lost. And I guess it's just kind of that, you know, you're able to have that. These guys aren't, you know, seasoned veterans kind of thing that know exactly what they're doing.
They're the guys who drive the RS 2000, Matt.
Yeah. And I think with a lot of like, you know, American like crime ones, we're looking more at like the bosses, like kind of like scheming against each other and stuff. Where this really isn't that. This is like, you know, the little guy trying to stand up a bit to the boss, or basically trying to survive the big boss. And I think that's what makes these, you know, its own little touch to it.
Okay, Matt, but in all honesty, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels has a moral to the story. Do you know what the moral is?
Randall, what's the moral of this story?
This is the moral that I picked up from this, okay? If you're that good, a legit good card player, the character is billed as just, he's really good at reading people and he's very good at cards. And obviously the crime lord cheats to beat him. Everything could have been solved if he would have just went to more reputable card playing places. But he needed to get that like you were saying, he needed to get that score now. He wanted the big score now.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's because I think some part of it might have been like they, you know, trying to get maybe that reputation. Like, oh yeah, you know, it's not just the money I earned, but also, hey, I beat the big guy. I beat, you know, the porn guy, Harry. Rita, what would you say is your favorite scene probably from this movie? I'm trying to think about, you were good with like the bridge one. I mean, I was yelling and stuff on that one too, but you know, every time, you know, I think the enforcer is kind of on screen or whatever, those were always, you know, good scenes.
Yeah, every time Vinnie Jones is on screen is always joyful anyways, but it doesn't matter what movie it is. My favorite scene in the movie is probably, God, it's so stupid because it's not important. It's not very important. Is probably when when he shows up at the bar, which is Sting's bar, and he's like, you know, you get your son out of this trouble by just giving us your bar, and he's like,
look, that boy doesn't know his arsehole from his earhole. This is my bar. It's got nothing to do with him.
That whole dynamic of Sting's character, you know, the father, like, you know, this is not my problem. I'm not going to give you my bar, and, you know, get the out of here. Basically.
One thing I thought kind of interesting, it kind of gave me like a different feel for the movie and stuff too. I don't know if it's quite my favorite scene, but it's definitely one that stuck out, is when the other three guys who aren't playing the card game have to go to like the bar next door kind of thing. And as they're going in there, this person who is like on fire comes running out the front door. And the three guys just kind of like go in kind of thing. And I think that was like, you know, just a little scene kind of shows a lot of like their character and everything. And we don't even get a full explanation about what happened until much later on in the film.
Yeah, but at least it's explained. It's not left up to like, well, that was weird.
Because it does kind of come out there. It's just like, what the heck? Like, you know, wow, this person's on fire. And it's like, doesn't seem to faze anybody. And the movie goes on.
And then, of course, they go into the bar and they're like, hey, Jason Statham's character asks the unbeknownst to the audience. The like marijuana kingpin's character. Can you please turn that TV down?
No.
And that's it. He does not make the same mistake that the other person made. That whole scene's pretty good. That's a good choice too.
Yep, I did like that scene. The whole setting and everything with that. And like I said, it's multi-layered. We return back to that scene to give more explanation about that kingpin and stuff and exactly, or I should say, like the weed kingpin and exactly what his character is and what he's capable of.
So, long story short, if you like Guy Ritchie films and you haven't seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which is probably unlikely, but hey, maybe, go check it out. If you like Snatch, if you like genuinely love Snatch, then watch this. It's definitely worth your time. And I swear, if you're not going to watch The Gentleman Review, go watch The Gentleman the movie. Because it's very, very good.
Yeah, I gotta go jump on watching The Gentleman. I also recommend that you check out Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. As Randall said, if you're a fan of Guy Ritchie films, or even if you're just a fan of films, I recommend that you check this movie out. Also, be sure to check out some of our other reviews. Randall and I have other flashback reviews. We have new movie reviews. We also take a look at TV shows and have deeper dive discussions.
Be sure to check us out on Facebook if you haven't already. We post on Facebook the day before what's going to be coming up next on YouTube. Our videos are released every Monday and Thursday, so be sure to come back and check them out. For now, I'm Randall, here in Texas. See everyone next time.
And I'm Matt, here in Michigan. Have a good day, everyone. Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.